You are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and joining us in studio is my good friend, Eduardo Ed Mayorga. This was a great conversation. I really enjoyed having Ed in here and getting to know him a little bit more. Typically, when we're hanging out, it's in an archery setting. Ed is an absolute artist and master when it comes to compound bow teching. He's quite frankly the only person that I will let touch my bow or tweak it. It was an absolute honor and privilege to have him in here. Ed is an outstanding human, and I hope that you enjoy our conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for the cigar, sir.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give me a little smoking lesson here because I'm not much of a cigar guy.
Yeah. I've had a few. I've never had like a ton. I don't smoke them every single day. I actually started them because I'm trying to quit smoking, just cigarettes.
Oh, damn, yeah. That's
so
rough,
I was
huh?
I kind of like transitioned into, was it Black and Milds?
Oh, yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, I got to get off
Got to put some weed in those.
Man, I can't do work.
Yeah, I got you. I can't smoke weed in general because I don't like the paranoia. Like, I can't handle it like the boys can. You know?
I've had some pretty bad experiences.
Yeah.
Because I tried it for a little bit, and then, it was fun for a little while, and then I overdid on the dosage, and then I had too many edibles, and then I even had a customer give me a soda, one of those Keef sodas.
Oh,
and
right.
I had that, and I also had a gummy. I was losing it. I was under my covers, and I threw my phone in the closet, and I was like, I have this crazy urge to text everybody on my contacts list.
Damn,
Tell
dude.
them that raccoons are taking over the world and they're conspiring against us. And so I was like, no, man, this is not for me. So
I got dosed one time on an airplane. I was on a flight with a bunch of guys that I knew, but it was like a commercial flight. So somebody gave a fat guy a cookie, right? But I didn't put two and two together, and I just pounded this cookie. And I think I had taken an Ambient prior to that too, because I had trouble sleeping on a flight. But we were going like transatlantic too. So I think we were going to the UK or something. Dude, I almost told them to let me off the plane. I was that like a half an hour in, because it took forever for everybody to board. It just seemed like eternity, and I was like, the fuck is wrong with me? And then all the guys, so I'm texting my buddy, he's like, yeah, dude, that was a weed cookie. And he's like 100 milligrams or whatever it was, it was heavier than I'd ever had. But I was about ready to call the stewardess. I was like, they're going to know I'm breathing heavy. I could hear myself breathe. I could feel my heart in my throat, it was miserable, dude.
Oh, yeah.
It was so miserable. I finally calmed down and came to. I was like, dude, it's fine.
Yeah. Now at work they test, and so I'm like,
oh yeah,
fine. It's a good excuse not to.
Yeah, dude. Plus, I got too much shit to do. I got kids. I want to be present for them. I just feel like that's honestly why I don't drink much. Occasionally when I'm in here, like if my guest drinks, I'll have a drink with them. That's why I'm going to smoke this cigar with you. I'm not a cigar smoker.
I gotcha.
So yeah, I just like to be present when I'm at home, man. It's like, I think it's the best way to be a dad, or lead by example a little bit too, even though I'm doing all this shit on camera.
Yeah. It's work.
Yeah. No, they understand too. So you got to live life too.
Oh yeah, man.
All right. So what do we got here? This is a Tuscan.
Yeah.
Boom. So we don't have smoke handlers in here either. So we're going to see how this goes.
That's all right. If we got to put it out.
Yeah.
Some of these guys let out a lot of smoke.
All right. So, give me the rundown here. Give us a rundown on how to smoke a cigar.
So,
I've smoked them before, but normally I'm at a bar or something where there's like a Cuban lady cutting them for me and everything.
So this cutter, just real bulletproof. It's gonna have a V cut. It's also just gonna have a straight cut.
Okay.
For the straight cut, if you set it down, it kind of gauges how much off the tip. And
Okay.
then you just slice it, and it's good to go. On this one, it's got a gauge on there anyway. And It just slices right through.
So what is the V cut less smoke, or what's the difference between the cuts?
It's just preference. So for that particular one, that one has a flavored tip on it, so that the first couple puffs aren't crazy strong.
Okay.
Because I asked the guy at the cigar shop, I'll sell them a little bit more mild.
You're breaking me in, huh? Because I got a pussy smoking a cigar.
Even for me, like I said, I smoke Black and Mild. They all got a flavored tip on them. So I was just, and he said that was a good recommendation. So
okay.
Yeah.
I think the V-tips hold it together better
Oh,
too.
okay.
It's tighter.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. That makes sense. All right. And then do you have to get crazy? You got to do it with a match, or what's the...
No, so I mean, normally people like wood matches and stuff. I've
got
had this
some
thing since I was
Taboo
like,
social
in high school. So.
matches
Cool.
over here. Shout out.
So,
All right.
whichever one you
Let's
want to
get
do.
let's get down on it. You want something to drink? We got a water there for you, and then
Sure.
there's some beers and
I was looking at your tequila there. That's the
yeah.
same tequila that I
You want to
drink.
do some tequila?
Sure.
Let's do
Let's
it, dude. Tyler, would
Yeah, I
you
got you.
mind maybe throw some ice in these
Yeah.
for me, buddy? If you want one too, get in there.
Sweet.
Are you on the rocks or
Yeah.
a neat guy?
I'll do rocks.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Have you tried this Lola tequila yet?
Yep, that's my favorite one.
This is a great start to the podcast. Smoking,
Yeah.
drinking. Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, of course.
Ed, thanks, buddy. This is
Yeah.
awesome, man.
Sure, man. Didn't want to show up empty-handed. So.
I've been wanting to get you in here for quite a while. I mean, we've been talking about it. It's just been crazy with guests and our guest list that we got going on, which I'm so fortunate, man. And I'm trying to do more of these a week, but dude, you from an archery standpoint are the only person I will let touch my bow.
Yeah.
Because I've had so many people fuck up compound bows.
Yeah.
But you are a fucking master at it, man. Like, I don't know. There's nobody else that I want to have work on my bow. You were the last person to touch my compound. I went and shot it today, and it's still just fire, dude. I just did
Nice.
30 some targets at American Bowman today.
Yeah.
So I did a side and a half, and then shot some out at the range, and just, dude, you got it dialed in.
Yeah. And I went in to the shop not knowing anything.
Mm-hmm.
I had I think I had a longbow. I had a compound bow. It was just one that I bought online. It was, I think I bought it for like $150.
Okay.
Some eBay deal or something like that. I actually ended up getting.
So no schooling or anything?
No.
Just dove
Yeah.
straight in and
Yeah.
and then what did you, cheers by the way.
Cheers, brother.
Did you just apply at cheers, Tyler?
Cheers.
Did you end up was Bear Creek Archery the first spot that you applied or started working on bows or?
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So I actually got it just as a side gig. So I
Okay.
was working there part time. I think it was when I found out that my ex-wife at the time, that she was pregnant, and I was like, okay, maybe on the weekends I can go make a little bit of money. So I was looking on like Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
and they popped up, and I was like, working at an archery shop would be pretty cool. It's something
Hell
that
yeah.
I've always wanted to do. It's something that, even though like I had never really done it, I was passionate about it. My parents were kind of like nothing fun outdoors. They don't like camping. They don't like hunting. They don't like any of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And so I was like, this might be my chance, maybe it'll work out. So I went in, did an interview with Miss Sandy, and then had an interview with Dave. And they kind of called me back. They were like, all right, we're looking for a full-timer. Is there any way that you were to make that happen? I was like, I really can't at the moment, So I was kind of bummed out. They called me back.
So did you have any experience with
No.
compound bows or archery prior to this? I mean, did you shoot and stuff?
Yeah. So I had a bow and stuff, and I think I took my bow maybe once or twice to Cabela's. I had no idea what was
Totally
going on,
different thing, right?
and I felt like my bow was wrong, and I was wrong. I think the first time I shot, I gave myself a giant bruise just because the draw length was set to like 30 something.
Oh shit! How long is your draw length?
I'm only 28 and a half. And when I first started shooting, I was like,
And somebody at
27.
Cabela's set you up
Yeah,
that way?
yeah, yeah.
God, yeah. See, that's the thing, man. Like I grew up, shooting bows, and it's funny because your approach is really awesome too, from a standpoint of you'll kind of ask some questions. Like some of these archery shops you walk into, everybody's a goddamn expert. And next thing you know, they start tweaking your bow, or they're like, no, we need to adjust your rest, or
Yeah.
like, they just kind of do it on their own sometimes.
It was just something that I was like, once I kind of, got my bearings and started figuring out and understanding a little bit better what I was doing, I always had that in mind where I was like, I wish this dude would have asked me some questions.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had a little bit of insight of what was going on, how to set up the bow, just all I had was like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So
Thank God for YouTube, dude. I wouldn't know how to fix anything.
So once I got into the shop, they were like, you know what, we can do part-time, right? So I went in, I think 1 day a week after work, and then weekends. So I was there Saturday and Sunday. After a couple months, they were real happy with me, and I was unhappy with my other job. So Dave came up to me one time. He was like, all right, like, what's it going to take? You know, we need you full time. We like you working here. We want to give you more responsibility. Eventually, you know, have you give lessons and stuff like that if you're up for it. So talked it out, you know, with my ex-wife, and both agreed, all right, you know, this is something that I can get into. That's why I started full time, and I was there for almost 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been there for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So about 6 months, I started kind of, you know, being able to do a lot of stuff on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot. Just the fletching, restringing, and then retuning, getting all that stuff.
The tuning is an art. It
Yeah.
really is, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's straight up art to tune a bow correctly, to the point where I'm kind of a stickler on, I try to tune my bow, or I want my bow tuned good enough that when I switch to a broadhead, and some of this is dependent on your broadhead too, that I don't have to change anything, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just shooting the same way that I shoot field points. I'm shooting broadheads, which is near impossible.
Yeah, it's
But
tough.
you've got me so dialed in that I think I figured it out, man.
Yeah.
That's honestly why I haven't went down and got a brand new Matthews or something, right? It's just like the one I got is fucking slamming.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Even for me, I'm still using, what is it, the Hoyt RX3? So it's a couple years old now. But I love that thing. I shoot the new bows and they're great. But I'm just like,
What's up,
Sorry
dude?
to interrupt. Are we
No
going to
worries.
get in trouble for the Red Bull?
No.
Okay.
No,
Sorry.
no.
I didn't want
Yeah.
I didn't want us to.
It's all good.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Let's give him a shout out, actually. I worked for Red Bull for a long time, so
Okay.
yeah, don't trip.
I know sometimes we can't do branding. So.
oh, okay.
Jocko could kick my ass, but I'm not going to. He's not paying me enough either. That wasn't part of the deal.
I don't want you in trouble.
Sorry. So
Hey, if you got one of Jocko's, I'll try his. I've never had
yeah,
his,
yeah. I
so-
wish we did. That's the thing, is if we had some in, I would have been like,
gotcha.
oh yeah, let's throw it up. But
No worries.
shout out to Lola. Shout out to
Lalo.
Oh, Lalo. Sorry.
It's my namesake.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah. So it's the short version of Eduardo.
Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's dope, dude.
yeah. So
that's
like
awesome.
like Francisco's, I think
Uh-huh.
they get like 3 nicknames. So they're either Paco, Pancho, or Kiko.
Yep.
And Eduardo's get Lalo.
Okay.
It's a weird. I don't know where it comes from.
So do people call you that?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's you're no longer Ed to me, dude. Lalo. Yep.
Lalo, yeah.
Hell yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
no idea when I bought the tequila today, so
Oh, okay.
it's been something we've been drinking in here, just something different than like Casamigos or
Yeah.
Patron.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
are both great tequilas, but it just
Yeah.
it's different. What do you think?
I love it. This is actually my favorite. This is the one I drink at home.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
No shit.
Yeah,
Fuck. All right. Hey, this cigar is pretty good too, man.
Yeah. Nice.
So when you smoke these, you don't inhale though, right?
You're not supposed to.
Okay.
I
Do you inhale?
Yeah.
Okay.
10% rule.
I just
Yeah,
it
yeah.
reminds me of Pinocchio when the kid turns green
Yeah.
from smoking the cigars. I'm like,
It'll-
oh shit, am I gonna?
Yeah. If you're not used to it, you'll cough up a storm. It's. Yeah. The guys that like.
Yeah, I don't really smoke, but
Yeah. No. The guys that like mix it like bourbon and whiskey and stuff like that. Those guys, I'm like, oh god, you have no taste buds left at all.
oh right, what drink
It's-
and smoke? Yeah.
I don't know why. Like I've never, and maybe it's just because that's what I, drank when I started drinking. But tequila doesn't seem harsh. to me at
It's all I drink now. Like we got all this booze up there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like collecting dust, dude, because we just drink a shitload of tequila in here. It's
Yeah.
like everybody's kind of on that kick, and
Yeah.
I've drank tequila for a long time, man.
Yeah. Every now
But
and again, I'll
God,
try,
the
like,
hangovers aren't as bad.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
no.
what I don't like.
Yeah.
I don't like a shitty hangover, dude.
Yeah. I haven't drank enough to get a hangover in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of
It's
a
been good.
one or two, like just don't go ham, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, so sorry, back to archery, man, because I'm super intrigued of. So, I guess let's dive into your background a little bit, just because every time I'm so pumped that you're in here too, dude. You're a great person, by the way, too, not just a good bow tech.
Thank you, man.
So, But every time that, we've been able to hang out, it's been in an archery setting, and you're like the fucking man. So everybody wants your attention. Like, can you fix this? Can you fix that? You know what I mean? So like, really the only time I've gotten to hang out with you is a little bit at the range and stuff. So it's cool to have you in here.
Yeah.
So what was kind of your background? You said your parents weren't into outdoor activities or anything like outdoors. Were you born and raised here in Colorado? Yep. Okay, so that's kind of unusual then, right? If they're not into it.
Yeah. So I was born and raised here. My 2 younger brothers were born and raised here. My sister, my parents are still born in the state of Durango in Mexico.
Okay.
My mother comes from...
That's kind of the mountains of Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Like the
so
elevation. I've been there, actually.
So
I think the elevation's like similar to here, right?
It's very, very similar.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that.
It doesn't get as cold. They don't get as much snow.
Right.
I don't think they might get a couple inches a year. It's not very much at all.
Closer to the equator.
Yeah. So my mom grew up on kind of like a little ranch farm. She comes from country folk. My dad doesn't. He's from the city. So my mother moved to the city of Durango in the state of Durango, and her and my dad kind of grew up together, and that's how they met and stuff. When they got here, it was it maybe like November of 92, and I was born in February of 93.
Oh shit.
And so they had already started their immigration process, so I wasn't an anchor baby per se.
Yeah.
They had already had that going, and they were never people who kind of liked being outside. My mom grew up incredibly poor, dirt floors. Her house was mostly made of like...
Why would I go camping?
Sheet
then,
metal.
Right?
I think they tried it a couple times.
Yeah.
Maybe in Mexico and here, and they were like, "This sucks. This is miserable. Why would you sleep on the ground when you have a bed and stuff?" So when I was a kid, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go fishing, wanted to go camping, wanted to go hunting. They were like, "You're crazy. You're not going to do that." And it always just stuck with me with something that I wanted to do. And once I was probably early 20s. I was probably like 20, 21. That's when I was like, I have a job now. I'm helping my parents out with their rent, and why not? I got the extra money. I'll get into archery. It's something that I've always wanted to do. Recurve bows have always kind of been, or traditional archery has always been like what I'm drawn to.
Really?
I was like, okay, if
the hardest form.
Yeah. But I was like, that seems really difficult. If I'm going to hunt, it's probably better off to start with a compound. So that's what I did. And I just bought my own bow. Had it set up for me, kind of set up for me.
Did you have anybody to like guide you or teach you along the way? So you were just self-taught?
Yeah, I was just looking up stuff on the internet, stuff on YouTube. And I think back then, I don't remember a ton of guys. I remember that Cam Haynes was kind of...
But he didn't have like a YouTube channel and was on social media every day like back then, right?
No.
There's a lot of books.
Yeah. And so I can't remember who else I would watch. Oh, Fred Eichler.
Oh, Fred.
Yeah. Because
he's still around doing shit.
That dude's insane, shooting grizzly bears with a recurve bow, you know?
Didn't he shoot a grizzly bear in the eye at like a full charge or something?
I don't know, maybe. That dude's on some crazy
Look
stuff.
that up real quick and see if that was Fred Eichler. Just type in like shoots charging grizzly bear in eye. Might have been Fred Eichler.
I remember there was one video of him where this grizzly bear kind of stands up. He takes a shot, and it looks like it's just perfect vital shot. And then the bear kind of gets back down, and then he stands up again, pumps another one in him.
Is it this one right here?
Who was it? On the head. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
This first one?
It's Tim Wells. Yeah, I got him confused. But
okay.
But Tim is fucking bad at it. He's a psycho, too. But no, Fred's the man. Fred, I think, lives here in Colorado, too, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's somewhere on the western slope.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. I think he runs an outfit or something like that.
Okay.
So, yeah. But, I remember watching that video. And even, like, he like, takes, like, the second shot, and the guide's kind of, like, with his, like, shotgun ready and stuff, and he's, like, screaming. He's like, oh, yeah, I got him. And the guide's like, calm down. It's not done yet. He's like, oh, no, I got him. No, but I remember I was like, man, the balls on that dude, like that's
insane.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah, I'm
Look
nowhere,
up. Let's
I'm
look
nowhere
up
near
some
that.
Fred Eichler grizzly bear shots because I know that we've watched this before on the podcast, and I could have swore I got this Tim Wells story mixed up, but
Is that how you spell it? B-I-C-H?
Yeah.
there it is. Yeah, Fred is the man. I'd love to. He's a bucket list for me to have on the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man.
I
Yeah,
need to
seems
get him
like a
in
cool
here. I
dude.
haven't even reached out to him yet, but
Yeah.
I doubt he's listening to this. But Fred, if you're listening to this, you're welcome anytime, man.
Should we do some trick shots? What are you guys thinking?
Look up Grizzly. Let's see if we can find this Grizzly video. So you started just by watching a little bit of video here and there, and then what was your first like hunting experience like? And did your parents think you were fucking crazy
No,
at
they
that
still
point?
think I'm crazy. Yeah. So I don't remember exactly when the first time that I went hunting was. But I just found some public land, I think I was looking at like maps and stuff and Googling where were good areas.
Well, just figuring out the whole tag process is a thing,
Yeah,
right?
that was-
Like that's
That
mind blowing in itself if you've never been around it or haven't experienced it. Once you understand the program, it's pretty simple, but to figure it out from a newbie, man, that is like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
I can only go in this area, and how do I know where the area boundaries are at? Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy.
No, yeah. So that was all, a real challenge. And then even now, like I do a lot of like e-scouting and stuff. And whenever I'm out, I do very little hiking, but whenever I get to do some, I'm like, all right, is this a good area? Let me look at my Onyx, check it out, see if it's any public land around here and stuff. But that was just kind of how I got started. And then I started shooting. Set up, I think it was like a Bear Attitude. It was, real, cheap entry level bow. Wasn't a bad bow at all. And then I think I blew it up once.
Really?
Yeah, working on it by myself. So
Damn.
what I would do is the peep wasn't
That's
in the right
fucking
spot.
dangerous, right? Yeah.
The peep wasn't in the right spot, and it was one of those like tri peeps with
Okay.
like the strings split in 3 different places. And I was like, I hate this thing. So I went out and I didn't want to wait for somebody to put it on for me. And I saw this trick on YouTube where if you like put like
So doing it without a bow press.
yeah,
Okay.
if you put like a dowel in the cam as it rotates, it kind of locks up the string, but the cables have all the tension. And so I was like, all right, that'll work. So I get it and I'm put my peep in there, and then I'm trying to shake the dowel out, and it won't get out. And I pull a little bit, it falls out, and I let go of the string.
Oh, damn.
So I just remember the peep hitting the ground or the wall or something like that. It came back, hit me in the chest, and I was like, what the hell's going on? It didn't
ruin the bow?
No, it
Really?
it derailed, but the cams are still good. The idler wheel was still good, all that stuff. So then I
How
was
many
like,
times working in the archery shop have you seen somebody dry fire a bow?
I can't remember how many times. It's been
But a lot?
Yeah. It
I mean,
happens a
do
lot.
they just,
You-
I never have, but
Yeah, you recognize the sound immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be in the like back of the shop, and even if it's just a recurve, we're like, all right, somebody go out, check what's going on. There was a dry fire, But
Does it make a lot of noise? Like, I don't think
don't know
I've
if
ever
it's-
been around a dry fire.
I don't know if it's crazy loud, but it's very distinct. You'll tell right away.
Yeah.
that it's dry fire. It's been a couple times where just shooting at the range and somebody over, on a couple lanes over, you'll hear the dry fire. I've seen it a couple times during league.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I think I get it because like, especially when you're shooting league, it gets really, really repetitive.
Forget to put an arrow on?
And
Is
you kind of get in
Really?
the zone. And so for a lot of people,
It's that boring,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I don't shoot league,
And
man.
so-
I gotta have like 3D
Yeah.
targets or something. Nothing against that. It's just not my thing. Like,
yeah, I have no felt, and I don't have anything to quiet my rest. So kind of hearing the arrow scratch on my on the arrow rest, kind of gives me a little indicator or an extra step that I know that there's an arrow on there.
Yeah, that's
if
a
I'm
great
not
point.
Looking down.
now is that on the traditional side or is that
No, on the compound.
on the compound?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I aim with the arrow on the recurve anyway, and so if I don't
Yeah.
have an arrow,
Yeah, you can't aim right. Yeah.
And
I definitely want to get into that too, a little bit, but yeah. So how many bows are just, I mean, cause the urban legend, well, it's not even an urban legend. It'll ruin a bow, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the whole reason why you guys actually have, some, why am I drawing a blank right now? Some, not triggers, releases that are fixed. So when you draw the bow, you can't actually fire it. Like if it's a new person, like when we set Eric up, when you set up my buddy Eric Tilley, shout out. And thank you for doing that day too. That was awesome, man. He's still shooting to this day. We got to get him up to American Bowman, but yeah, he's super pumped. But yeah, I know that, when people are new, like drawing a bow it's intimidating as shit, man. Cause there's so much weight and poundage, and then you got everybody in the archery shop looking at you, you know?
No, yeah, it's a little, and it's kind of odd getting used to how the weight fluctuates as you're drawing back.
Right.
Just kind of getting, used to that curve. And so those safety releases, those things are awesome. They're just super easy. As long as you have a good solid D loop, it's not going to come apart. It's not going to, anything like that. Then there's not too much risk. There is always a risk. You know? But definitely beats, putting an arrow or even like one of those measuring arrows on there, and you're just kind of pointed at everybody. If it does go off, then not only is a bow, probably gonna.
I mean, it is good. Like I at least have you or somebody just do a once over on my bow every year, other than me, right? And just like, is everything look all right?
Yeah. So that's always a good idea. But yeah, as long as you have a good D loop, using those safety releases, those things are awesome. Just because you can, draw your bow pretty regularly, make sure that you're going to be safe. I've had one of the D loops pop off on me as I was drawing with a safety. It hit my arm, gave me a big old bruise, but I think it took enough weight out of the string where it didn't blow up. It was only like half drawn, so ended up with a big old bruise, but the bow was fine.
Yeah.
And
have you ever had a bow blow up while you're working on it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So it was like...
That can be dangerous too, right? Like I know guys that have broken their hands and stuff like that from it.
So that one, it was definitely the first year that I was in there, and it was like 100% my fault. Something went, or I didn't double check to make sure that the D loop was put on correctly, and so it was kind of slipping out a little bit, and I didn't notice. But it was the only thing that was wrong when the bow blew up, that I was like, that D loop's gone. There's no way that should be gone, So it was 100%.
Yeah, shit wears out too, man. You can't just like, they don't last forever.
I had just put it on.
Yeah.
So I was working on it, and I was setting it up for the guy and stuff. And so, yeah, we had to call him. And, once he came in, I told him, I was like, hey, man, I'm really sorry. I'm the one who blew up your bow. And super nice guy. He was very, very sweet. And he was like, don't worry about it. It happens. And, they eventually got him all set up. And we took care of all the work and the parts as well.
Yeah.
But I felt horrible. Yeah, it was just... It blew up.
That's got to be miserable, man,
Yeah,
because
it blew
mine
up
is
on
so
the drawboard.
personal to me too.
Yeah.
Well, you've never done that to mine, so...
No, that's...
Did it only happen that one time?
Yeah, that's the only one that I ever blew up.
Probably
Besides my
don't
own.
ever again after that.
No. But it's just... You kind of get in a groove, you get in a process, and as long as... You kind of learn to recognize what's going to be, like, solid. Even if, like, let's say you're burning a D loop, and then you end up looking at it, and it just... Something just doesn't look right about it. So it's worth the extra 5 seconds to just snip it.
It's worth to just take it to somebody like you and let them do it, man, because I'm no expert. As much as I want to learn... It's an art form in itself. It really is, especially when you get into tuning and seeing if the cams are going right, and like, I'm sure that there's some sort of system to it, a little bit, but
So, for me, what I found is just kind of having a routine with every bow. One thing that I do a lot is I forget steps. I'm very, very forgetful. I start working quick, and I want to get, out as quick as possible and stuff.
Another reason not to smoke weed.
And so I realized that, okay, if I do it the same way, even if it's not necessarily the most efficient way, as long as I remember that I'm doing it that way, then everything's going to be put on. Everything's going to be leveled after it's on.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can start working on tuning and actually getting the timing down on the bow. So it just made it easier on myself. I can always kind of tell what bow is on the wall that I set up because my D loops always look the same. We liked using knock points on all of our compound bows, and I use them on my recurve as well. So I could always kind of tell, like, that's one that I set up just the way that it looks.
Okay.
So you kind of you get it down.
So by knock point, is that a certain brand of?
No. So
Okay.
like the serving that you put on.
Oh,
on the string,
right. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So, I like using, two knock points on a compound bow. I know a lot of people, they just put a D loop on there. Just for the fact that if you ever have to cut off your D loop, you know exactly where your center shot is.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, it's worth putting on. It's something that they taught me there, Steve, he's real big on it.
Yeah.
It works great. Everybody has their way of doing it,
Yeah, that's the thing is there's so many different ways that you can go, what you shoot, how you shoot, what type of release, what method of shooting, what method of release. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it gets crazy, man.
Yeah.
You start getting into arrows and veins and helix on the veins or on the fletches. And then you get into a whole thing of knocks. There's so much shit out there too. There's so many different companies.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy. Like now they sell light up knocks and like all this just like crazy shit, right?
No, yeah. So that was one thing that I always enjoyed was every couple months somebody would come in, or I think it was right before like Vegas. A lot of companies started coming out with some stuff so that they would show at like the ASA and NABA shows.
Gotcha.
And then when the guys would get back from those shows, they'd come back with a bunch of stuff. They're like, oh, look at this stuff, So it's cool. I think to me, it's really, really fun how personalized you can have everything.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
There's, I don't know how many PEEP companies, It's just a little round piece of aluminum or plastic. And
the best part about it, too, is none of that shit makes you better at
Yeah.
it, really. I mean, it might give you a little bit of edge here or there. Like, I'm partial, but it's kind of like customizing like motorcycles or something, man. Like, there's so many different sight housings, different ways that you can shoot.
Yep.
So yeah, it is a very accessible type industry, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a ton of companies out there with a ton of different products, and
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
I don't know how they stay competitive, man. It's crazy.
I don't think anybody's putting out bad stuff. Some of it, may not be for you, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. Just not the best bit for you. Other stuff that's just, it seems like it works.
Yeah, if you
for a
stick
lot
with
of
the
people.
major main brands.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you go
Yeah.
and buy some knockoff stuff off of Amazon or something, you're going to have problems.
It's going to be an
probably,
issue, yeah. So,
But if you stick to like name brands,
Oh, yeah.
like companies that thrive in the archery business or
Yeah.
in the outdoor business at least, right?
oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then, you got like big dogs out there like Hoyt, Matthews and stuff. And they've been around for so long. They're making really good stuff.
Both those companies make
Yeah.
incredible stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like it's night and day. And even like Matthews, I'm a big fan of and shot for a long time. But even like their, the mission line that they have,
Yeah.
it's really cost effective, really low like entry point from a financial standpoint, but still manufactured by Matthews, right?
Yep.
Like so. Still built in the USA, I believe that line is.
I think so too.
But man, it's kind of hard to go wrong with somebody like that. And then Hoyt makes incredible bows, man. Like they're almost the only reason why I don't shoot a Hoyt and I've stuck with Matthews is I'm just comfortable with it.
Yeah.
But I like a little bit heavier bow, and those carbon bows are like too light. Like I start getting
Yeah.
all over the place and getting a little bit squirrely with them, man. Like
Even on my bow, I noticed that I ended up putting a bunch of like stabilizer weight, and
yeah,
I got a front bar and a back bar. I think my front bar has like 10 ounces, And
Oh,
I
shit.
think I got,
Okay.
for a little while.
So
I
you
had,
almost
like-
got a pound out there, dude.
For a little while, I had, I think, over 16 ounces on my back bar. And I remember one time I went hunting with a buddy, and we had to like jump over a log or something. And he handed me his bow. He's got a little bit lighter setup in stabilizers. And I was like, thing's kind of hefty, you know? And then I hand him my bow, and he's like, oh, what the hell? And I'm like, and that's with like all that crazy weight on there,
Right.
you know?
No, it's crazy because I shoot with a lot of guys that shoot those RXs, and
Yeah.
they're just super light. Even that PSE, I forget
Yeah, that one's
whatever
probably
that
one of the
one's
lightest.
super light.
Yeah,
man.
the Mach 1s. and-
It's crazy. It's like you're carrying a traditional bow
Yeah.
almost, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, mine's definitely, I would say my Matthews with my draw length and arrows and everything set up. Everything I got on is beefy, but I don't have to shoot with a stabilizer. I don't have a rear stabilizer.
That's nice.
And I'm still accurate enough
Oh, yeah.
to where I want to be.
There's it's all just a comfort thing and what works for you,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I feel like with my compound, I need at least 8-inch stabilizer up front and an 8 or 6 in the back for me to actually feel, you know, the difference in the shot. It's just the shakiness is so much less. 10 is good. I've tried a 15. It works great for target archery. Once you get hunting, it's such a pain in the ass. It gets
It's
in the
just
way
in
of
the way,
everything.
right? Like, and that's kind of my thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's one more thing that could go wrong, which not really a stabilizer, but that's honestly why I try to keep everything as simple as possible. And
Yeah.
and if I was really sticking true to that, traditional would be the way to go, right? Because
Yeah.
it's less margin for error out there, and you're gonna have some errors, man.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you're chasing elk.
Yeah.
I mean, where they're at is never like in a easy spot to get to.
No.
So
No, and the times that I have gone out, I've never gotten anything with my recurve. And the times that I have gone out, I'm like, okay, I don't have the stabilizer, but I got these big ass limbs
Yeah.
to worry about, and they're a pain in the ass too.
yeah, that's
And
another
so,
thing
yeah.
too. But then
Yeah.
also you watch guys like Tom Klum or something when we got to Golden, and they have a split rail fence that he's shooting, you know, underneath.
Yeah.
Whereas you
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
do that on a compound, really.
No.
It'd be super fucking hard.
Yeah.
You might be able to pull off a shot, but you're not going to be able to use your sight or anything like
no.
that.
I think the toughest trick shot I ever made with my recurve was like on my knees, and I was struggling.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to the guys up at American Bowman, because the way that they set up those courses, even if you're a compound shooter, there's a couple shots where like you could maybe pull off, but there might be a branch in the way or something. So, you know, I know especially last year, I haven't shot both sides yet this year, but I know last year on that one side, there was a couple shots where you had to get down on your knees to make the shot.
Yeah.
It's a different level when you're not on your feet or not used to just like staying on level ground,
Yeah.
like, or shooting downhill or uphill. It's like most bow shops that I go into, they all want to adjust. They all tell me that my draw length is too short.
No, okay.
But the moment that I get on a hill, I notice it. It's like,
Yeah.
once I start, you know, if you're shooting extremely uphill or extremely downhill,
Yeah. No,
I like it a little bit on the shorter side.
Yeah, I shot with a with a clicker for a really long time on my recurve,
Mm-hmm.
and it just kind of helps you with
Just to
draw
let you
length.
know where back
Yeah.
tension's at, right?
Yep. Yeah. So, there was a couple shots where I'd be on my knees, and I feel like I'm at my anchor point. I feel like I'm fully extended in my back, and I'm like, why the hell won't this thing go off? You know?
Oh, right.
And then I got to push that little extra, 5%. Clicker goes off, and I'm like, it's not the same when you're, not
Yeah.
perfectly standing up and on
Yeah,
level
if you're
ground.
if you're shooting up or downhill,
Yeah.
it changes your skeletal structure really,
Yeah.
because then your shoulder can come. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
It's just different.
yeah.
That's why I think you're supposed to bend. Like if you're shooting extremely downhill, you're not supposed to like kind of crunch your ribs over or change your spine. You're supposed to roll with your hips, right?
Yeah. Like you pivot at your waist.
Right.
Yeah. So
And that's a hard thing to do, especially
Yeah.
when there's a 50-foot cliff that you're shooting off of. It's
Yeah.
like, oh God, I'm getting really top heavy
yeah,
right
it feels
about
like
now.
you're leaning over. Yeah. So I'm definitely a better bow tech than I am a shooter. And I'm a better shooter than I am a hunter because I'm a pretty terrible hunter.
I think that's everybody, dude.
I think so too,
Like
yeah.
hunting is just it's a different animal, man.
Yeah.
Like you you know, if you're at the range, you can kind of get dialed in and you don't have all that pressure and you're kind of like having fun, even at a 3D range, right? Like, I enjoy that more than I enjoy hunting. But there's been times where I've been like 4 or 5 days in and I haven't shot my bow. And then all of a sudden I got an opportunity to take a shot.
Yeah.
Then I start second guessing myself.
Yeah.
Once I start second guessing myself, I know I'm not going to have a good shot.
Yeah.
So I generally don't fucking take it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or you're fatigued or tired. And then not only that, your nerves, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
They'll do some crazy stuff to you. I know.
Especially if it's a bugle and bull or something like that, man. It's like you start getting that, you start shaking for no reason.
Oh yeah.
You can't control it. It's uncontrollable, right?
Yeah. Last year I was able to call in my first bull. You know, he's a shooter. Really tall, just really, really skinny antlers on him. But he had, you know, good sized brow tines on him and stuff. But I remember as I saw him walking towards me, I was like, did I really just call this bull in? I don't think I've ever gotten a response from a bull. Every time I've gotten like a response, it's some other guy, you know? And I saw him walking toward me and I'm freaking out and I'm trying to draw my bow back and I couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, I know I can do this. I'm going to muscle this thing back one way or another. I was able to draw back on him.
Just from just not breathing or just like target
was
panic? Was it target panic?
I think it was a little bit target panic. I think it's more of like when you're actually, you know, looking down the sight. I think it was more buck fever. Just that little freak out that you get, you know. And I was sitting on my ass a little bit and I was side hilling a little bit.
Well, the thing is too, people don't realize the way that I hunt is backcountry, right? So typically I have like 30 to 40 pounds on my back minimum.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sometimes 50, sometimes more maybe, right? Depending on how long I'm going for and where. But you know, you're walking with your shoulders, like you're fatigued, you're tired, you're walking with your shoulders hunched over.
Yeah.
And then when you end up having to go into a draw, something might not feel the same. You might be tired.
Oh yeah.
That's why I really try to, you know, about this time of year, like the pack that I actually hunt in, because I've trained in frame packs, but then you throw your pack on, it has different pressure points or weights in different spots or something like that. So that I try to use everything that I actually hunt with to the point, and you can call me psycho or not, but like today at American Bowman, full quiver, full arrows. Nice. That's how I roll.
No, yeah.
Because that's how I'm going to roll into hunting season. Yeah. That's the only reason I'm up there this morning shooting.
Oh yeah.
Is I want to get some reps in, you know?
Oh yeah.
So
I know a couple of guys at the shop, they would even like go as far as to tune their bows if they had a 6-arrow quiver with 5 arrows in their quiver.
Really?
Yeah.
So putting a quiver on will change the tuning a little bit?
It won't change necessarily the tune, but it'll change the balance of the bow.
Right.
And so it'll kind of act like a stabilizer a little bit. It'll, you know, throw
start
that
to
cant over left and right. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely shoot better with my quiver on because if I'm just, it's weird.
Just that little added weight.
That little extra weight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I don't even think it weighs like maybe 6 ounces with my arrows.
Yeah, no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Like, I think my total arrow, I have a 4-arrow quiver.
Yep.
And it's one of those
That's
Matthews
nice
ones,
yep.
you know, it's the clip-in one.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know how much that thing weighs. So I guess going back to your background a little bit. So you dove into hunting all by yourself. What was your first like hunting experience like? Do it.
I honestly can't remember. I think I went up. I can't remember if I went up by myself or if it was when I went up with my brother-in-law and I took my bow and stuff. And it was, you know, just I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah, go for it, man. So I just figured I'd walk. You know, there was a road. It looked like, I don't know, maybe like the Forest Service had kind of dug holes in it so that nobody actually drives on that road. So I just figured I'd, you know, walk up on this road every couple 100 yards. I'd, you know, go up the hill. I'd get exhausted. I had no idea what kind of shape we needed to be into, you know, to be in the mountains.
Yeah, and even if you think you're in shape, right? Like if you spend all this time on a treadmill or something, good fucking luck, dude. It's just different, man. Yeah. It's different once you get into altitude.
Oh, yeah.
Especially you see it with a lot of guys that, you know, come from out of state.
Yeah.
because they're not used to the altitude, man. It's a different type of game,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I don't remember seeing anything. Probably saw a few deer, stuff like that. I just had an over-the-counter elk tag. But it was a lot of fun. I think the most exciting thing that I saw on that trip was just like the different squirrels and birds that I was like, I don't see these in the city. Like these aren't around, you know?
Especially when you're trying to be quiet and stuff, right? Like you you experience nature in a different way.
Yeah.
And it's typically like the weather's not like perfect, so there's not a ton of people recreating.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Typically, and a lot of times I'm like 5 or 6 miles deep because I don't want to see people at all. But dude, I've had some like crazy experiences. Like one of the coolest things that ever happened to me was a couple years ago. And I don't know if it was the same ground owl, or just the spot that I was hunting in. But I swear I became friends with like this ground owl for like 3 days. And it would fly wherever I was sitting. Like, so if I was sitting at a wallow or something like that, it would fly up, and I actually have a badass video of it. And it's like smaller than this microphone.
Okay.
Like they're little tiny owls, dude, but they're so badass.
I don't think
they just look like evil little dudes, man. Like it kind of reminded me of the what was the Looney Tunes, like the little chicken hawk character. Remember the one that was all is like muscled up and just like talking shit. Yeah. That's kind of what they remind me of, because this thing did not care.
Yeah.
He'd fly up like wherever I was sitting and just, you know, perch right there above me.
Yeah.
And just like check me out. Like, I think I could eat this dude. You know what I mean? Like, I swear that's what he was thinking.
Yeah.
But it's so cool, man. Like tiny, like the size of this whiskey glass, man.
Yeah.
It was a super cool experience. And they kind of look like that. Look up a ground
Henry
owl.
Hawk.
See how big they are. I think they're called ground owls. Dude, owls are badass creatures, man. Yeah, they're pretty tiny.
Yeah.
They're cool looking little guys. Yeah, they look evil as hell.
Yeah, and they'll turn their head like that
and
look at you like, dude, I think I could. He looks pretty good. He's got some meat on the bones. But it was the strangest thing. I don't know if it was something with my bow, or maybe he's used to being around elk because of flies or something. So maybe it was from the cow urine or something like that. You know, I don't know. It was, but it was super cool. 3 days, this little dude followed me around. I swear, like he was just following me. I think he thought he was going to eat me.
Yeah. Maybe he was just waiting for you to get something.
Yeah. He's like, hopefully this guy dies soon.
He's going to leave something
kill
behind.
Something. Yeah. Kill something.
Yeah. So that was cool. And then I've had another really cool experience where the weather was turning real bad. The previous day, I probably messed up at least 4 times, where I had opportunities on deer that I just wasn't paying attention. I was like so focused on trying to like step where I wasn't going to make noise. And I look up because another twig breaks. And I got 4 like velvet bucks looking at me. And I'm like, I don't even have an arrow on my bow.
Right.
You know? And then I go, knock an arrow. And then I look at my sight and I have it at 40 yards. And I look at them and I'm like, they're probably like 20 yards. So as I'm adjusting, they all like run away, and I throw a little fit, take my arrow off, put it back in the quiver. I walk another 100 yards, and they're there again. That happened to me like 4 times that day.
Oh,
after the second time, I was like, this arrow is staying on there. I don't care. My eyes are going to be up the whole time. I ran into another little doe, and then that was the first time I ever heard a doe snorting, and that scared the shit out of me. She was pretty close, but I couldn't really see her. I'd get like glimpses of her, and I can hear her snorting, and to me, it didn't sound like a snort. And I'm just like, what the hell's going on? Like this thing possessed or something.
Right.
And then I finally, kind of got a glimpse of her in between the brushes and stuff. I'm like, there's no way I'm going to get to her.
God, have you ever heard of mountain lion?
No. Never have.
Oh,
never
dude,
seen one out in the
it's
wild.
not what you think it would sound like. It's not like what Hollywood makes it sound like. Look up a mountain lion, like at night or something. Mountain lion noise, maybe. Dude, it is freaky. It sounds like an old lady like dying or something, man. Like that's the closest way.
Like a scream?
Yeah, like a scream.
Can we get sound?
Probably, yeah. We should be able. We shouldn't get nailed on this. Maybe wait till the commercial's over. If you need some more ice, man, there's in that Yeti cup right there.
Thank you.
Some? Oh, okay.
I'm all good.
So we got to open this. Is this thing dead?
Yeah,
Just
there's a
about.
little bit in there.
How do we get the sound up?
You're the tech guy.
Yeah, that's true, huh? I just wondered if it's...
It's probably on the keyboard. Just hit the volume on the
Okay.
keyboard, I bet.
I didn't
There you
know it
go.
was coming out on your end.
Oh shit.
Dude, you think that
Yeah.
there are freaking gremlins in the woods, man? Like it is freaky as hell.
No, yeah, I always kind of had that what was that movie? Talladega Nights.
Yeah,
He's got the cougar. That's a sound I have in my head, you know.
Yeah.
No, that's terrifying.
it's totally different. Yeah,
Yeah.
you think it's like a, but
Mhm.
it's not. That's the Hollywood cougar.
yeah.
But yeah, they sound freaky as hell.
Yeah.
I saw some guys that were in a tree stand, and it looked like they were new hunters. And there's a mountain lion just doing that, right? And they're like, "Okay, the season's over, dude. Like we're fucking out of here, man." Like if you didn't hear a bull elk, like they sound
Yeah.
crazy too. Like
Yeah.
if you've never experienced like people that have never experienced a bugle before,
Yeah.
it's insane, dude.
Oh yeah.
They sound like a dinosaur or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. One of my buddies, he's my buddy Jason. Also met him through the shop, you know.
Okay.
Now we're good friends. But yeah, there was one night where we were camped out. He took a scamper up, and so the whole night we're hearing these elk bugle, and we're like, tomorrow's gonna be awesome, right? All night they're going crazy. We start walking, probably 4:35. By 6, heard the last bugle. Didn't hear one the rest of the night.
Really?
All day didn't hear a peep. Yeah, we bumped a couple, but they weren't making any noise at all.
They are so smart, man.
Yeah.
They're so smart. That happened to me last season. I went with my brother, and I went kind of later in the season. It was like second or third week. And the night that we went in to this spot, we were like, let's just go check out these benches that we normally hunt. And the spot where we were hunting, and just see what's up there. It's kind of like higher ground, but it was a mud bath to get to it, man.
Yeah,
Like it was a muddy hike in.
Yeah.
It was super wet. But we got in there and sat till dark and just started calling. We started like World War III. There was like 6 bulls around us, I swear. Just
Yeah.
like going off. And then I had them all pissed off because as soon as they would call, I'd like cut them off in their call. Like almost, you know, just messing with them. And then, God, man, I thought we were going to get trampled or gored on the way out, and it was pitch black, so we couldn't get a shot off anyway. So we're like, we'll just come back in the morning.
Yeah.
Didn't see an elk the rest of the hunting season, dude. I was like, what the hell did these things go? There was like 6, like bunch of cows. Like it was
Yeah.
crazy, man. We could see all their eyes and stuff when we were hiking out at night. No moonlight, you know. So
No, yeah, they're smart critters, man. So
yeah, and they can vanish. Like
yeah,
That,
it's
you know.
weird because like growing up, the only exposure that I had to wildlife was just kind of like going to zoos, driving through like Rocky Mountain National Park and stuff, and that was always great. But it was always like, I think my family were kind of like, you follow that page, Tourons of Yellowstone.
yeah,
People
we
trying to
were
get
just
out and
talking
take
about it on
pictures
the
and shit. I'm
last
like,
picture.
But
Oh,
no,
really?
oh yeah, because I mean we didn't know any better,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I think most people don't.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. One, I remember one guy explained it to me because I was a young kid and I was like, what's so wrong about like, you know, touching the deer, touching the elk or something? They were like, they get used to you, then they're gonna look to you for food, then they're not gonna know that you're a threat. Like they should know that they're, you know, their own kind of creature.
Right.
That you may not necessarily be out to harm them, but at one point you will be if you're hunting. And so they got to remain wild. So I was like, all right, that makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah, a lot of
we gotta
people-
stop doing that.
you know, especially here in Colorado, because the mountain towns have become suburbia, really.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of ways. And I think a lot of people, with the influx of people that have moved into Colorado, a lot of people do feed. Like, I have neighbors that feed wildlife. And the last thing I want to do is like call the game warden and turn them in or something like that, you know? Like, that's kind of a shitty thing to do to your neighbor. So
yeah,
I'll politely kind of tell them, and some people still don't understand. They're like,
Yeah.
well, what are they going to eat? It's the middle of winter. I'm like,
You just
They
gotta
will
let
figure
nature
it
take
out.
its course, man.
yeah,
it's
to the
rough.
point they kind of become habituated to an instance where I've seen a couple deer that have had, they end up, fish and game ends up killing or putting those animals
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
one way or another, just because once they become habituated to people,
Yeah.
they
like
can't
all the,
they can't really be around people because it's
Yeah.
too dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Like for one instance, I was leaving here. I was actually headed to American Bowman to go shoot. Leaving here on was it 73, and I stopped, and there's a game warden in the middle of the road that I knew. So I stopped to talk to him. I was like, "Hey, what's going on? You need any help?" I was just offering to help him.
Yeah.
There's a deer standing right in the middle of the road, and he walked right up to my truck. I mean, probably a 4x4,
Solid
decent
muley,
sized, solid muley, like
Yeah.
probably 200 pounds. Stuck his head in my cab. Like his antlers were like in my face. Like,
Yeah.
are you going to feed me something, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
pretty much like a dog, dude.
Yeah.
Like licking me on the face almost, you know?
Yeah.
And Scott was like, I think I got it handled. So I just drove off, you know? But God, you never know. And then I've had a couple deer in our neighborhood, which is only a mile from here, just stand at the sliding glass door, like waiting for food, right? Because they
Yeah.
know, like on a deck.
Yep.
So
Somebody's gonna hand them something.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
And both those deer had to get put down because you can't, they
No.
can't be around people, because the next thing you know, they're gonna
They're gonna
they're
get
gonna
in a
gore
restaurant.
somebody.
Yeah.
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 So
No. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been nice, kind of figuring out stuff. Like, all right, like this is what I can do, what I can't do, what I shouldn't do. And I'll talk to people close to me. Like I said, my family is not outdoorsy. Even out of my two brothers, my sister, I'm the only one.
yeah,
My brothers will kind of humor me a little bit, and every now and again, especially when they were younger, I would like take them shooting, and he'd be like, "No, yeah, this is fun." I'm like, "All right, so like, you want to get a bow?" They're like, "No, I'm good."
really.
It's fun every now and again. I'm like,
It's just
all
not
right.
for everybody.
No.
Man, it's addictive to me. It's
Yeah.
like
no. As soon as
Super
I
addictive.
got into it, and then like when I started working at the archery shop, not only did like my skill, it was like tenfold night and day. I got so much better. I remember we were having like a shoot off competition with like the rental recurves. I think I put like 4 arrows in the wood. And my boss was like, "You got to get good at that if you're ever going to teach lessons, bro." Like, that sucks, And then like to where I'm at now, where
so like at the archery range, right? There's huge foam targets, and then
Yeah.
above it and below it is just like wood paneling, right?
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Like, have you ever shot at No Limits?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you know how tall their ceilings are.
Yeah. There's arrows.
And
up
there's
there.
like arrows. Like, how in the
Oh,
fuck
yeah.
does somebody like?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess just finger on the trigger while they're
Yeah,
drawing or
there's-
something, man.
I've seen a bunch of stuff happen. Honestly, most of it, I would say it's like release failure, or just having your finger too close, having too
Yeah.
hot of a release. If you're trying to figure out like a hinge release, or some people, they struggle with like getting that thumb, So it most of the time it's that halfway through their draw, and they just accidentally punch and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's happened to me too. Most of the time that I've shot without wanting to, I've kind of learned to keep my draw pretty level, not to like sky draw too much.
Yeah.
But every now and again it happens. So it's just
Part of the game.
yeah. Very rarely happens with a recurve, but I've even seen
Did
it happen with a
you-
recurve.
Have you shot competitively at all? Have you done any of like the Vegas shoots or anything like that?
No, I've done a few like
Because a few of the guys that are down at the shop have
Oh,
shot
yeah.
at a pretty high level,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so,
wasn't
like-
sure if that was.
like Steve, he's at tournaments year round.
That's crazy, man.
yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
nother level of shooting
Yeah,
too,
that's-
right?
that's-
Like
That-
pressure,
Yeah.
an
Yeah, yeah.
audience watching you shoot. They have like a light show now. And
Oh,
like
yeah.
all kinds of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, just because it's really, really fun to do it, but at the same time, I'm like, my spirits get down because I'm like, all right, where I'm at, I kind of know what I should be
In
shooting.
the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I kind of know what I should be shooting on a Vegas. And then I go at a tournament and I'm shooting below my average, and I'm like, or the first game's great, and then the second half of the game I just tank. And I'm like, this sucks. I hate this. Why did I pay?
I
$25,
get
$50
really
to get in
bored. I've shot so much
Yeah.
3D and spent so much time in the woods, I think, and even shooting at home, that I have the hardest time like just going to a range, just
Yeah.
like having to deal with people and staying in lanes
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
I don't know. I just
Yeah.
don't like it.
Leagues are fun.
Are they?
I like the leagues
I don't
just
think I've
because
ever shot one, so I
it's-
can't really knock
yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
I like them just because, I mean, most of the time you get to know the people there if you don't already know them. And everybody's just shooting the shit the whole time. So you're talking
That's
trash and, so
Yeah.
it's fun. So it's a lot more relaxed. And I've noticed that there's been some days that I'm like, man, like I shot way above my average, right? Like I killed it today. The closest I've gotten to a 300 on a blue, which should be pretty easy, just because the 5 ring's so damn big.
Yeah.
But last arrow, and I threw a 4.
Oh no.
The whole time I'm having fun, and
Yeah.
and then I get to the last one, and I'm like, nope, no 300.
It's all that pressure of the last
299
arrow.
It is,
huh?
yeah. And
That's
on
crazy.
Vegas, I'm nowhere near. I
So
think-
on a blue, so there's the targets. There's a 3. Most of the Vegas shoot targets it's 3 targets on one piece of paper, right?
yeah,
And it goes from red
yellow,
or yellow
red,
is the bulls.
bulls yellow.
Okay, bulls yellow.
Yeah.
And then the blues, is that the 5 target?
I think it starts 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you get on a Vegas, you get 10 all the way out through 1.
Gotcha.
If you're using the single spot. If you're using the 3 spot, I think it only goes out to 5 or 6, maybe. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah. So I mean, it makes sense for target guys who are really good. You don't beat up your arrows that way. And
Yeah.
a lot of those guys are shooting fatties.
I'm at the point. You got my
So-
bow so dialed
Yeah.
in that like I always go for the 5 targets.
Yeah.
And shoot 5 arrows just because like the first couple times I Robin Hooded arrows, I was like, this is so badass. And like now I
just
just
start
get
seeing
now I
dollar
get
signs
pissed
after
off.
that, yeah.
Especially when you start shooting like the arrows that I shoot are like 20. Shit, they're probably $30 a piece now by the time you
Probably.
insert them. And
Yeah. You shoot
know what the-
FNJs?
Yeah.
Yeah. They get up there.
They're expensive.
Everything's gone up in price so much.
And
too.
match grade too.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah.
like that's even.
Yeah.
Not that I need to, but I'm just like, I'm one of those guys that wants every advantage that I can get,
Yeah.
right? Like,
I
so-
think the confidence aspect too, just
Mhm.
because I've shot a
those arrows are tough as shit, though, man.
yeah
They're a tough
Yeah.
arrow.
yeah and it's kind of like the personalizing your bow. It may not necessarily be better, but that's what you're confident with. It gives you a big boost,
Oh,
So,
confidence is key in archery. I think that's for me. That's the biggest determining factor. If I'm not confident in a shot, and especially hunting, shit has gone sideways. So
Yeah.
it's gone sideways enough that I just don't shoot. Like I literally have to be like in a kill mindset
yeah
to pull the trigger, I guess.
Yeah.
Like not
yeah.
bloodthirst, but just like I know that this is going to go well.
yeah
And the moment you don't have that confidence, it'll go just as bad as you want it to.
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't know if to the point, Tom kind of taught me like the subconscious aiming and just like, really like driving the arrow with your mind, which sounds crazy as hell, but it fucking works, man. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter where your pin is on that paper or on a bullseye or not.
Oh, yeah.
It can be floating all over the place, but if you focus on where you want it to go, somehow
just
the
pulls
arrow
there.
just kind of, it's like manifesting
Yeah.
a shot almost. It's
Oh, yeah.
crazy.
yeah I mean, you see it a lot with the target guys, because the way that I always kind of thought about it was like, all right, they need this like tiny little fiber. They need to be like as precise as possible. So, and then you see these guys and they got big old dots on there. They got giant fibers, and you're like, what's going on? They're like, well, the fiber's there. It'll kind of, starburst or fatten up a little bit. So it doesn't really matter. You're just looking at the target. You're looking at the bullseye, where you want that arrow to go. And so I could probably benefit from like one of those like mental coaches, like Tom or
Dude, Tom is great,
who's
man.
the other guy?
You know Tom, right?
a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
He's such a solid human too, man. Like he is like just salt of the earth. I've been going to Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear since I was a kid,
yeah.
and nothing has changed there, man. Like he
Yeah.
just, even with I mean, he's kind of famous now.
Oh yeah.
But he's Tom Klum.
yeah,
He's just
yeah.
like, he treats everybody with respect, kindness, is nice to everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter unless you're doing something totally stupid, right?
Yeah.
Or being an asshole, then.
Yeah.
But I've never seen Tom get really mad at anybody
Yeah.
but himself.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen him
Yeah.
get mad at himself a couple times, like, God damn it, why did I do that? You know, but
Yeah.
like, and I don't even think he said God damn it, he's gosh darn it. You know, like he's
No,
just
yeah.
that model of a man.
Yeah.
Like he's Tom is a great man, dude. He's awesome, and I would encourage you, go. I mean, that changed my game significantly because I used to just be a trigger puncher.
Yeah.
You know, and then I went and saw Tom a couple years ago, and I was like, okay, I want to. Because I started having problems. I used to be able to punch a trigger and pull off a shot. But every once in a while, I'd have a rogue arrow.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. I was like, God, I want consistency. Like, consistency is key for me. Like, the discipline of it, everything. Like, you don't want one rogue arrow on a bull
Yeah.
or something like that. Like, there's no worse feeling than wounding an animal, right?
Yeah.
Like, so for me, but now I'm to the point just shooting solely back tension and not like depressing a trigger at all, really. Like, doesn't that micro adjustment of maybe your finger depressing just enough, but really it's just the back tension,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't know if it's your fist naturally squeezing. I can't break down the science. Tom or Joel Turner or somebody like that is
Yeah,
much
they'll
better at it.
yeah.
But yeah, man, that has made me so much more confident too. Like, that was the thing that I lost, is like, once you lose that confidence, then everything goes to hell.
It's tough to get it back too.
Yeah,
it takes a long time.
and it still comes in waves. Like, I had
yeah.
it happen today. What happened? The first target, I just got after it when I got up there instead of like taking a couple warm-up shots, and I was like, yeah, you don't get a couple warm-up shots. And sure shit, I shot this wolf, and I shot it right wherever I shot it. There's something like super hard. I didn't hit the
okay.
vitals at all.
Yeah. No,
in the
'cause
target, and I could not get my goddamn arrow out of there.
Yeah,
man.
they normally-
I spent like 20 minutes. Like, God, ended up breaking off the tip in
that sucks.
there. So I'm gonna
You're
have to
like,
bring it
great,
down to the shot.
$30.
Yeah. Well, I think the arrow might be salvageable.
Okay.
I could maybe save it for a target if they can heat it up enough to get the insert out, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of times, especially with if you have like hot melt holding your inserts, it's a good idea. If you have super glue, the only way that I found to get them out is you use either like an axle from a bow or like a drill bit that's pretty close to that size, and you just kind of use inertia to knock it out from the back end. You remove your knock, and you kind of every now and again you'll crack the arrow, you crack the carbon, and he's a goner.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
dangerous as hell, man.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen those videos of like arrows
yeah.
going through people's arms and shit, dude?
We had one customer at the shop who,
Really?
yeah, he came in all with like full cast and everything. We were like, "What's going on?" He was like, "Oh, I had one of those arrows. Arrow was splintering, cracking, and shot it right through my hand." So,
God, I wonder if that could happen with the FMJs. I'm sure it could if it was like fully split, but that's another
Yeah.
reason that I shoot them is like
yeah, it's probably less likely just because that aluminum.
those fully carbon
Yeah.
arrows, man. You
Yeah.
can barely tell they're so the carbon's so tight too. You can
Yeah.
barely see a crack in them.
Yeah,
They're almost like a hairline fracture. Or something,
yeah,
right?
and I think the quality of arrows has gone up a lot more too. So I know that was like a huge concern when they first came out. But as long as you go like with a reputable company, and they make solid arrows, they got a good product. Like I said, hardly anybody's making trash anymore.
Yeah.
You'll get those like crazy like fiberglass arrows and stuff. I don't know how likely those are to splinter and crack. They definitely noodle like crazy.
Yeah,
they
man.
don't don't spine correctly.
God, if
and
you ever
stuff.
watch one like
Yeah.
those super slow mo cameras,
Oh yeah,
man, it's
I do it all the time.
insane.
Yeah, because that's how I tune my recurve. Or
Oh,
I have
really?
Yeah. So you
You set up a high speed camera and then,
on the phone. Yeah, they got
Really?
a little slow mo. Yeah, and it's enough. It's not crazy slow, right? But it's enough that you can tell if you're getting tell high, tell low, left, right. And so you
Really?
can make your adjustments. Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wanted to get into teching bows, what would be your suggestion? Like, and I'm curious for myself.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to work on my own stuff.
Yeah.
I'd rather just bring it to you, honestly, because I know it'll be done right. But if I were at some point, I think, you know, it's something I would love to know everything start to stop, right?
Yeah.
And I think, like, what kind of tools do you have to have? You don't want to be sticking wooden dowels in your cams or anything like that, right? Like, you should have a bow press.
Yeah. So I would
probably
say
have a bow vise.
Yep, bow vise, bow press. It's definitely going to be the two priciest things. But if you do a lot of work and you use them a lot, it's definitely worth it. It's so much help, right? Just having that vise where you're not figuring out what the hell is level, you know?
Right.
How do I get this bow to stand upright without me having to hold it or somebody else
it's
hold
impossible.
it? Yeah. So it is definitely worth it. And there's some good quality vices. There's some good quality, you know, bow presses out there that aren't terribly expensive. You can always go secondhand. And so you'll always find good stuff. But I would say those two are pretty vital. That's going to be, you know, probably the number one and two thing that you're going to need, that you're going to use if you're going to do your own stuff. After that, getting with somebody who knows what they're doing, you know, just kind of watching them, taking notes and stuff. There's a lot of videos online.
Yeah, John Dudley's got some great information down there, like how to fix a serving or how to tie your own D loop.
Yeah,
and
like, no, Levi does a good job too on the
okay,
you know, a lot of
Levi
technical
Morgan
stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
Even like what's that kid's name? Chris B. He's got a couple good videos. You know?
Nice.
One thing that I found in the archery community, and I'm guilty of it too, is people shit on the YouTubers.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And so you're like, that guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. That guy doesn't know what the fuck. Blah, blah. And I feel like there's universal things that like no matter what.
I get shit on all the time. Go read the comments.
And so it's like, you know, there's certain things that no matter what, that's what's gonna need to happen for the bow to shoot and for the bow to shoot right. There's other things that they're individual. Might work for you, might work for another guy, might not work for you, you know? And so I don't think there's necessarily a bad or there's something bad about watching everybody. You learn a little bit from everyone. You see some things that are like, that's kind of weird. I don't want to do that. Right. And so you take what works for you. You try it out. If it works, hey, you found something new that will probably work on another bow that you have to work on later. Something that doesn't work, you're like, okay, didn't work on this bow. I might try it on the next one. Doesn't work on that one. You get like, you know, 6-7 bows.
You can go down a rabbit hole, right? Just even on how you shoot.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I would say for somebody trying to get into it, if you really know that you want to do it, you really know that you want to work on your own bows, those are going to be the first two investments. They're going to be bow press, then the bow vise. After that, spend some time in the shop. I've really never had to encounter somebody who's not willing to let me go back there and watch what they're doing. You know, it's pretty rare. You might get somebody who's grumpy and no, I'm not going to show you.
There's some grumpy old dudes in archery shops.
Oh yeah.
For the most part, everybody's pretty nice.
Yeah. You know, and then especially like if you give it some time, get to know some guys back there and stuff and ask questions. Like I said, most of the time, everybody's happy to answer stuff. And, you know, I tried to always do that. Just because I was like, when I wanted to start shooting, that's what I was looking for. I really wanted some info. I really wanted somebody to explain it to me, like, just so that I can do it on my own if I couldn't make it to a shop.
Yeah, you're really good about that, man. And I encourage
I tried hard.
anybody that, you go the extra mile, too.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that I love about your approach, too, is, like, when we had Eric in, or, like, I've seen you work with some other people that are new, it's not like they don't need any more pressure than they're already under, right? So you're just very relaxed. You're very calm about it. Just kind of like, does this feel good? Does that, you know what I mean? Like, you kind of let them figure it out themselves a little bit, which I think that you have to do. Where some guys will just be like, nope, this is what you need. This is how I'm going to set it up. Boom, 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 boom. And they just do it.
Yeah.
Right? And then that, I feel like anytime anybody's done that to me, I'm never happy when I leave. I'm like, I've bought something that I didn't want to buy, or it's not set up the way that I wanted it set up, maybe because I watched Cam Haynes on YouTube or something. This is how he shoots, and that's how I want to shoot, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think that the approach that you take with everything is just, it's very much like customer service, man. Like,
I would say that was something that was kind of unexpected for me. I worked selling cars for a little bit. That job was miserable. I hated that job so much.
Did you have to lie to people?
No, I don't think I ever lied about anything. But I noticed that
but does your management encourage you to lie to people?
No,
I guess
no.
Okay. Because I always feel like that's just the shadiest business. Dude.
Yeah.
I hate buying cars.
Yeah, and
Everybody's like, "Yeah, we can get you out of here in an hour." And it's like 7 hours later.
no
you're
way,
like, motherfucker, dude.
yeah. So and so I was kind of nervous going back to sales because I was just like, this is gonna suck. One thing I noticed is, like you said, nobody's happy to buy a car, right? It's one of those things where it's an absolute necessity. You're very rarely doing it just because you're like, this is the new car that I want, and I've been, everyone's kind of like, I have to do this. This dude's gonna upsell me. This dude's gonna try to sell me this car, that car, whatever.
And it's in the back of people's mind.
Yeah.
You automatically think, I'm here to get fucked.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the time you are. So, like, I don't, nobody ever leaves a car dealership and they're like, yeah, I made that dealership my bitch.
Never.
Never. So I was a little nervous about that, but I noticed people are actually excited to buy a bow.
Oh, hell yeah.
People are happy. It's a hobby. It can become a way of life, People are excited to buy a bow. So you match their energy and you try to just be like, just make it as comfortable as you can. And what I always kind of try to portray is, I don't own archery. Nobody owns archery, right? It's yours, it's mine, it's everybody's. Nobody has the one solution to just be the best archer ever. There's no such thing as the best product ever, the best bow ever. It's whatever works for you, whatever works in your budget, what you're trying to accomplish with it. So I always just kind of I always try to figure out, okay, how much you're willing to spend. What are you trying to do with
That's
this?
a big thing.
Yeah. Especially when you go into a pro shop. Just because it's going to be like everything else, right? If you go to a big box store, they're going to have different bows. You go to a pro shop, it's a lot less people that they have to train. And so the quality of training goes up as well. Especially if you have good shooters and good bow techs and they've been, schooled. I know. I would
encourage anybody, all the places I've been, actually around the world, and archery's been such a big part of my life, where I have found the best service is not in those big box stores.
Yeah.
It's in the mom and pop
Yep.
spots, for archery, for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so that was a huge help. The mentors that I had, the teachers that I had, they were patient with me. It's funny because I kind of got a little bit of a backstory afterwards, once I was kind of already established and I had made some friends and stuff. But one of my buddies who we worked together for a very short time. After that, he ended up getting another job, but I think I only worked with him for maybe 5-6 months or something like that. And I think we were out hunting and he was like, dude, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't like you when you first walked into the shop. I thought about you and I was like, this dude has no idea what the hell he's doing. He's not going to make it. Right? He's going to be in and out in a couple months. And he's like,
he must really like you now.
No,
to
yeah.
tell you that,
yeah.
right?
He's a good guy. Colin Colin DeBoer. Shout out to Colin. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, that's cool. I'm glad that I was able to kind of prove that I was capable. It didn't seem like that even to me, The first couple months I was like, man, this sucks. I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can learn everything. I don't know if I can, but just keeping at it.
There's so much. Right?
Yeah, there's a lot. Even just like fletching arrows.
Uh-huh.
I had no idea that I was allergic.
There's a million different ways.
To cyanoacrylate glue, like super glue.
You're allergic to it? Oh shit. That's a bad thing.
I would get home and I'm like, man, my nose is running, my eyes are burning, like what the hell is going on? I'm getting sick and stuff like that. And then after a while, I was like, I think it's the freaking glue. Because I'd
Really?
like get home and I'd be just fine. And I'm like, I did everything at the shop
So
today.
even just the fumes and shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So it was
that
like,
must
and
have
I'm
been
like,
miserable
it
then.
sucks because I find fletching arrows really relaxing and it's kind of fun and I like doing it. And so, but now if I do it on my own, I got to wear a mask and
Your COVID-19 mode?
and I was like, that's the only way. Or I have to pop
that's
a couple.
bummer.
Yeah, I have to pop
Claritin
a
or
couple
something?
Claritin or
Yeah.
Benadryl before I go to bed, or else I can't function for the next 3 days.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that bad, huh?
Yeah, and it actually
Does it
happens-
affect your breathing? Like, do you
No.
get anaphylactic
No.
from it? Okay.
No, nothing like that. It's just crazy.
Because that
runny
shit can
nose
be
and
dangerous.
it
Like, if
sucks.
you're that allergic to
Yeah.
something, that's
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
no good.
So, and then I heard a couple of the other guys and gals at the shop that they were like, shit, that happens to me too. I wonder if it is the glue. I'm gonna fletch arrows tonight. I'll let you know. And then they'd come in the next morning and they look like crap.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, all right, I guess. And then there's some people that nothing. They can fletch arrows all day.
So,
not a booger
note to
inside.
self, don't be putting that in a brown paper bag
Yeah.
and huffing it, right? That's crazy.
So-
So is it any sort of
Yeah.
super glue, or is it a certain type that
No.
you use to fletch arrows?
I don't know, because I mean, it's all like what is it? The G5 blue glue,
Okay.
the Blazer Bond. There's another one, Ozark. All of them, I get the exact same reaction. So I'm assuming they're all pretty close, and they're like chemical composition or something.
Right.
So, but I always kind of read the bottle, and it says.
Well, just like I said, I always pay the experts to do that shit, man, because like I'll screw it up at some
Yeah.
point. So, like, you're the only person allowed to touch my bow, and Colt over at Rocky Mountain Specialty Gear is the only person that can build my arrows because of his attention to detail. Just like, if I'm spending that much money, I don't have the cutter. I don't have the.
Yeah.
Is it the Bunsen? What's the-
Bitzenberger.
Bitzenberger.
Bitzenberger,
There you go.
yeah.
Bunsen burner or something else,
Bunsen.
right?
Yeah, that's like what you use in chemistry class.
Right.
Back
So
in high
I
school.
wonder if they were related or something. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, you build something
yeah.
to fletch arrows, and I'll build shit to blow up. Well, that's what I was trying to do in chemistry class. What can I mix together that'll cause a
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some cool color flames and stuff.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But no, like even just fletching arrows, it's kind of a little art and science in itself.
It really is.
You know,
and there's
and-
so many different ways.
Even like back in the day, like if you like, what is it? Fletcher is a really popular English name. That was from a dude who way back in the day, that's all he did was fletch arrows and build arrows.
Dude, the history of archery, when you really think about it, is so fucking amazing,
Yeah.
man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it goes hand in hand with like blacksmithing is another art form. Like archery, I consider a martial art, really, whether you're shooting a compound or not. Like, just the history behind it and kind of what you have to go through in your mental state, and then you start reading into history and how long that weapon was effective from a
Yeah.
platform standpoint for the longest period
Oh, yeah.
in weaponry.
Yep.
Right? Like the bow was effective for like 1,000 years,
Yeah.
and then till some Chinese dude made gunpowder, right? But it's pretty crazy. And then, even like all these stone points that like Donnie Duss makes. And
I was looking at those. I actually just heard his podcast with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, he's fucking awesung, dude.
Yeah, that
He
dude
makes
seems
his own
like a cool
bows. We've
guy,
had a
man.
couple of guys in that make their own bows
Yeah.
and go this far. And then,
I watch a lot of his videos and stuff and follow
oh,
him on
dude,
Instagram.
and you know what? The guy that he is on camera is the guy that he is in real life
Yeah.
too. Like that's hard to find. Man.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to find. So he's just salt of the earth. One of my favorite humans. Has treated me so well. Has put me in some amazing opportunities. He actually has taught me a lot of the history that I didn't know about stone points and what I used to think. I used to think that Native Americans, maybe just because I didn't read enough, were just like literally throwing spears, and even Western artists depict it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they used to throw spears
Yep.
into bison and stuff like that. Not the case.
Yeah.
So Donnie invited me on some archaeological experiments, and it was all done with an atlatl.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
which is like a crazy concept. I was like, this makes so much sense. But just the level of engineering in prehistoric man,
Yeah.
1,000, 2,000 years ago is unbelievable what they constructed out of stone
Yeah.
to come up with an atlatl to get more leverage.
Yep.
Like, how do you figure that out,
Yeah.
man? It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think that we're at that level. I think we're letting technology drive itself now almost
Yeah.
to a point, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but to think outside the box, man, and
And all you had was like twigs, rocks, stones. You had to figure some
well,
way
this
to
was
get it
your
done.
livelihood,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, I want to build one. I think one of my little cousins and I kind of started one, and I kind of gave him the breakdown of how it would kind of work.
Uh-huh.
But I don't think we ever got done with it. And I was always like, all right, I'll get you some long twigs or something we can make darts and stuff.
So
I
you,
never got around to it.
as far as a bow or stone
An
tools?
atlatl.
Oh, an atlatl.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
So,
cool. It's pretty simple. There's actually one sitting
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, those things. Awesome.
So Dr. Devin Pettigrew, did you mind grabbing that, Tyler? Made me this, and I got a couple darts out there, so you could maybe take some notes from it. But
Yeah.
I mean, this is like no special wood. I don't know. Maybe you use a special wood on that, but pretty simple concept.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I could whittle one,
Oh, yeah.
pretty quick,
Yeah.
especially if you find like some willow or something straight. Like,
Yeah.
and then I would imagine that there's some curing, but it's not as dangerous as like trying to make a bow. You can make a
Oh, yeah.
blow that can blow up in your hands
Oh, yeah.
like that, right? I mean, there's a process to making bows and curing the wood and that sort of thing. Whereas I feel like this is kind of like a kid could make this.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So,
It's crazy
Yeah.
how much more leverage you get. Just
dude,
from that
if I
little
would have known
extension,
how to
you know?
make these as a kid, I would have been in
Oh,
serious shit,
yeah,
dude.
me too.
Like, there would have been a lot of dead stuff, dude.
I think my
But it's freaking awesome, man.
yeah. I remember one time when we were kids, my brother and I, we made nunchucks out of paper. We
Oh,
would
really?
roll up paper and then we duct taped it, and then we found like this that foam that like kids use to like on art projects and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were like, all right, we'll wrap it in foam and it'll be fine. And I think the first one of us to get like a good whack, we were like, that sucks. Why are we
Dude,
doing that?"
nunchucks are fucking dangerous as shit to use yourself. I remember, like, God, as a kid, I'm dating myself because I think I was born in 1980. You're born in 90.
93.
So I got 12 years on you.
Yeah.
Dude, there was like a craze when like China really started pushing stuff towards America, and you could
Oh,
buy
yeah.
like real like Chinese stars.
Yeah, yeah.
You could buy like fucking swords.
Yeah.
You could buy, it was all just knockoff cheap bullshit,
I have a
right?
set of nunchucks that were from like one of those old school karate
Yeah,
catalogs
dude.
and stuff.
Yeah. So I had a metal pair that would like screw together as like a staff.
Okay.
But motherfucker, dude, I whacked myself in the back of the head with those fucking things.
Yeah.
Like, that's an art form in
Yeah,
itself, man. Like,
it was hilarious.
you got to
Like,
know what the fuck you're doing with nunchucks.
Yeah.
You can't be some dumb fat kid trying to
Yeah.
fucking nunchuck.
It was funny because like
Let's watch some videos of people fucking themselves up with nunchucks.
like
dude.
I know it happened here, but like it also happened in Mexico where like that karate craze hit.
right?
in
Yeah.
the 70s,
well,
right?
you had all those movies like,
Yeah.
well, Chuck Norris was big.
Yep. Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee, like, kind of started it all.
Yeah.
But then you got even into like the 80s. You had Jean-Claude Van Damme, and you have to kill the volume on this. That's all right. Oh, shit. Chicken and bikini. Oh, this dude looks like Bruce
Oh.
Lee. No, not
Right in the
anymore.
back of the head.
Yeah, dude.
Right in the nuts.
Double nunchuck to the nuts, dude.
Oof.
This
That
guy
dude
got a gun on his belt?
That dude shook it off too.
Heineken banner. Oh.
Oh yeah. But that like craze hit Mexico too. So my
Yeah.
dad, he actually found that set of nunchucks in an abandoned apartment, and he took them home. I think he found a couple swords and stuff like that. They were like cheap, knockoffs. And somehow I convinced him to keep the nunchucks. He gave everything else away, and I was like, "Dad, please." They were golden, and they had a little picture of Bruce Lee. It was like all chipped. They were, pretty old. And then I can't remember. I don't think he ever gave them to me. I think I snuck in his room and I knew where he was keeping them, and I kind of snuck them out, see for how long he would notice. And And then eventually I was just like, hey, Dad, I got a cool project. Can I sand the, gold flaky paint off? And he was like, yeah, whatever. Do whatever you want. Just don't use them. And I remember
Were they metal?
No, they were wood.
Okay.
Yeah. So they had like the little
But somebody painted them
fittings.
gold?
No, I think that's how they came from wherever they were sold.
Okay.
Yeah. And they had little stamp of Bruce Lee at the bottom. And he would tell me stories. He was like, when I was a kid, I would carry nunchucks. I was like, for real? He's like, I would go into the bars and stuff. He's like, and the
Your dad?
fight would break out. And he had a set of nunchucks on his hip, And he was like, they actually stopped more fights than they started. And
Really?
I was like, really? He was like, I was like, do you know how to use them? He's like, I know basic moves, but you whack a motherfucker hard enough and...
Oh, dude, think about it. Like getting fucking hit with a set of... It could kill you in a heartbeat. You hit somebody right?
Yeah. And so,
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but I remember like thinking of my dad when I was a kid, and I was like, this crazy dude was walking around in Mexico with a pair of nunchucks in his pants.
I tell you what, somebody pulls out nunchucks on me, dude. I don't want nothing to do with it, dude. Yeah. That's Chinese stars too were a big thing. Like ninjas were a big thing, I think, in like the 80s, right? Like you had God, what was the other? Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
Jean-Claude. But then there was a bunch of kid movies that were based. Well, Karate Kid, dude.
Karate Kid.
Come on, bro.
Oh, there was another movie.
Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
That was the shit.
Yeah.
My daughter I showed her that movie the other night because I was like, no, your little cartoons are not stupid, but I was just like, you need to watch Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
So we watched it. She loves it. She's watched it like 7 times now. It was so funny because me being a little bit older, I remember taking my little brother to see it at like the dollar movies. Like as a kid, we never had enough money to go to the real movie. So there used to be these like dollar movie theaters.
Yeah.
And they were nasty. They never got cleaned. They just like, you stuck to the floor, like walking in from all the Coke spilt and shit.
Yeah.
But it was $1 to see a movie.
Yeah.
So we would get like $3 and we'd go watch like honestly, we were buying one ticket and just hopping theater to theater, right?
Yeah.
But I'll never forget like coming out of the dollar movie theater and all the kids just like kicking the chairs and shit, from watching Three Ninjas. It was pretty funny. Hilarious time.
Yeah. I remember watching like all of the like Van Damme movies.
Oh, those were badass. Like Bloodsport. And all that
and
stuff.
I remember
that was like pre-UFC and all that,
Yeah. And I remember like my cousins and I would like argue, and we'd be like, who could beat Jean-Claude Van Damme? Nobody can beat Jean-Claude Van Damme. Who can beat John? And then I grew up as Jehovah's Witness.
Really?
Yeah. And I remember one of the arguments that we had was, can God beat up Jean-Claude Van Damme? And we were all like, he's got to beat him, right? Like he's amazing. There's no way. And I think we took the question to my mom. It was very, very religious, very hardcore. And she slapped the shit out of us.
Really?
Like, go do something else. Go. What are you guys doing? We were probably like 8, 9 years old.
Right. So were they Jehovah's Witnesses before coming to America?
Yep.
Is that religion in Mexico?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a worldwide religion, huh?
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, they're a little nutty.
I don't know. I know a few of them. They're nice people.
Yeah. I left. I think I started leaving when I was like 18 or 19. I kind of just stopped going, and they hassled me for a couple years after that, just trying to get me to go back and stuff. And by that point, it was done. For a long time, I had like a huge like anger and resentment toward just all faith in general. I've had a couple people in my life that have kind of changed that I was just like, everybody who's religious is crazy. Everybody who's religious is an asshole. They're this, they're that. That's just because,
well, I think the problem with religions, and for me anyways, is the people that are hypocritical in them.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because like if you say you're going to do something, then do it. Right. And like, I want people to genuinely be themselves. Like that's been my motto with this podcast. That's why I think we've had success, is like, I don't want you to come in here and bullshit me or try to like pretend like you're this perfect human. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't think anybody that I've had on has had that. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, in religion, I think a lot of people live a double life. They live a life at church, and then they live a life at home,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And anytime that you have to walk into a situation where you genuinely can't be yourself and you're worried about being judged about being yourself, and I really feel, and this isn't a knock on religion. I guess I have some faith. I just have different faith. Like I don't go and practice at a church. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Protestant. I'm not, any of those things. But I just think when you put it in that environment and you have other people judging you and you're supposed to be this perfect human, I think that's a lot of pressure. I think it drives people to do worse shit.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the craziest people I've ever met in my life were Mormons, dude. Like crazy.
Yeah. They're
crazy people.
They're
man.
pretty
like,
similar.
Like to have a lot of fun
Yeah,
or
yeah,
dangerous a little bit.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like, I don't knock any of that, but it's like, just don't live that double life.
Yeah.
Like I very much pride myself on who I am in here or who you listen to. And I don't think you can fake it on a podcast, is who I am when you meet me at American Bowman or at one of the archery shops or at an event. Like I want people to know the genuine me. And I don't know. I think that's the downfall with religion.
Yeah. And I felt a lot of that growing up, just because I was like in church. I had to be very well spoken. You couldn't really admit to certain things. So there was a couple things where it was like they would tell you what shows were not recommended for you to watch. And I remember there was one episode of The Simpsons that came on, and I think they took a joke at Jehovah's Witnesses. It was something silly. It was like, I think they get like a brand new doorbell, and they're waiting for somebody to ring the doorbell. And then they see these Jehovah's Witnesses, they get all excited. They're like, oh yeah, somebody's going to ring the doorbell. And then right as they're going to ring, the dude's like, do you think that maybe we should like get jobs instead of like annoying people? And the lady's like, I think you're right. And they don't ring the doorbell.
Oh shit.
And so then it kind of happened around the same time where then we started getting it in church where they would announce like, don't let your kids watch The Simpsons. It's a bad show and stuff like that. With my parents not knowing English very well, they had no idea what South Park was. They had no idea what was going on there.
Yeah, that is
so,
the next level. Bro.
Yeah, we'd be watching The Simpsons, and then they'd come in the room, and we'd flip it over, or we'd watch South Park, and they'd be like, what's that? We're like, oh, it's just a cartoon.
Yeah.
And they had no idea what was going on. It was like 10 times worse.
God, I grew up in a very like open household to the point where it was just like, I don't know, the 80s were different too. It was even different than the 90s. Like we were allowed, like, because like the 90s, there was that huge thing with Hillary Clinton and them like trying to ban music. But I used to listen to like all kinds of crazy shit, like Eazy-E and NWA when I was a kid. And well, I guess that was around that time.
Yeah.
When rap really started to hit, that they started to do like the parental advisory stickers.
Yeah.
And all that made me want to do was just buy all those albums, because if it didn't have that on it, I didn't want to listen to it. You know what I mean? It was like,
it was funny because my mom we would call it purity rampages. So she'd go around the house, and any movies or music that we had, any CDs laying around, she'd check everything. And then she'd be like, this is rated PG-13. What's it about? Right? And we'd be like, Mom, it's this, it's that. Any rated R movie, she'd toss them out. We're like, okay.
I'm so fortunate I wasn't sheltered by like music or movies. So I remember watching First Blood. Look up what year First Blood came out. Had to be like 1983 or 4 or something like that. So I was 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it. But also at the same time, when you went to the toy store, there was figurines, and you could buy like the toy Rambo knife and like
toy guns.
And it was a rated R movie, right?
Yeah.
1982. Okay, so there's no way I was 2 years old watching it. So this must have been like
you probably watched a
couple years later.
Yeah.
What a fucking awesome movie. It holds up to this day, man. Like the other Rambos, The exploding arrow tips and shit,
Yeah.
dude. Like, come on, bro.
I remember watching it as a kid, and I was like, "That's the coolest shit ever."
Oh my god, dude.
Hell yeah, I want to throw an arrow at a helicopter and just watch it blow.
I broke my cousin's arm because we had bunk beds.
Yeah.
And my cousins were over like staying the night, and we were reenacting the scene from when Rambo like throws a Russian out of the helicopter.
Threw him off
So
the top
I threw him
bunk.
off the bunk bed, and he broke his fucking arm. Shitty kids.
No,
But like, yeah, Top Gun, like there was no like walking us out during the sex. I was like, I don't know. I was just never sheltered to it. So I guess I haven't really with my kids, and I'll let them listen to whatever. That's kind of an open thing in our house. Like, doesn't mean you can turn around and say like "fuck the police" or something like that, right? But like,
that's how it should be.
Yeah.
No, yeah, for us it was it was not necessarily a cultural thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely like faith came before everything.
Sure.
And so
Which
I don't think
that that's a bad model either, man. Like, I think that there's something to that, man.
Yeah.
There's something into having faith. It's when you have those double standards.
Yep. Yeah. And I remember it was like that in school because, like, I didn't talk the same in school as I did in church.
Oh hell, I didn't
was
talk the
always-
same at home as I did in school.
You know, and so there was certain things where they kind of teach you to like self-police yourself. And so there was certain things where you're like, you just don't cross that line, right? And I kind of felt like once I got out that I was like the sucker who actually, you know, paid attention. And
You're a nice guy, dude.
and
yeah.
I honestly I do, how do I say this? I do give them credit for that. Just because I like being nice. I enjoy trying to be nice. I try to give people the benefit of, you're always going to find people who dislike you and
the
stuff.
one thing about you that I love the most is you're just genuine.
Yeah,
That's why you're on the podcast, man. Like, honestly, as good of a Bowtech as you are and everything, it's like you are just a genuinely, like, just an awesome person. Just like how I was talking about how you treat other people, man. Like, when they come into the bow shop and these are strangers, you know what I mean? Like that, you just genuinely treat everybody as an equal. Like, you don't judge anybody, and you just are helpful.
I try to be. It wasn't always like that. And I am, I think because of, you know, how I grew up and stuff, I was really, really shy. I honestly didn't start losing a lot of that shyness, and I still have it now, until I started working at the archery shop and giving lessons. Because it was one of those things where it forced me to do it. I had no other option but to talk to 8-10 people at a time.
Right.
Or if I was doing an individual lesson, I got to talk to that one person, 3 people at a time. I don't have a way out. I don't have the option to stay quiet, to just kind of sit in the corner. So that really, really helped out a lot, you know. And I gave talks, you know, kind of in church. Most of the boys that kind of start around like the age that they can read. And that was somebody, my mom was crazy about us reading the Bible. So we would read it a ton. It was kind of like a punishment, you know? And it was also kind of like, this is what we're going to do. Like, there's just no option. But because of that, I learned to read really, really well in Spanish. I learned to talk really well in Spanish. And then at like 8 or 9 years old, standing in front of like 120 people, and you got to read on the microphone, it kind of freaks you out a little bit, you know. And then after a while, you get used to it, and then, but that shyness didn't start leaving until I started working at the archery shop. Even when I was a car salesman, I was very, very timid.
Well, you're dealing with alpha males too, right? Like, how many badass people's bows have you worked on? I mean, there's a lot of badass dudes. Like, that's where I met Mark Montoya, was in your guys' bow shop. You know what I mean? And
I didn't know him when he came in, and I was the one who greeted him, and he kind of told me, you know, what he was doing. He was getting ready for a trip to Africa with his brother and his dad. So we got them all hooked up with bows and stuff. It was like right before COVID. And so the whole trip, I think, went south, never ended up happening. I don't think he ever
going for him.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I'm happy to call him a friend now and stuff.
Oh, he's such a great. That's another great human. Man.
I started going to his gym.
Oh,
jiu-jitsu.
really?
Yeah, I've been really bad these past couple months. I've been moving and figuring out, permanent spot for me to live. I've been.
Don't let Mark down, dude.
So
that's the last guy you want to let down.
Yeah. And man, he's been so cool, and it was awesome too, because even a couple months like that didn't work out and stuff, and so he was like, all right, set me up with something for elk. So I got him an elk set up, and then he actually texted me a picture one day, and he was like, dude, I got an elk, really nice bull and stuff. And so he also
was it that old bull that he shot a few years ago? Man, that thing is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That's the type of elk you want to take.
Yeah.
Man. That's like that's the picture perfect hunter story, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like take that old bull off the land,
Yeah. So I think I don't know if it was before that or after that, but I told him that I was a fan of fighting and UFC and all that stuff, and he brought me a duffel bag, like with the UFC when they had the Reebok contract.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, and he had like a couple shoes in there. He had like a couple sweatshirts and stuff, and I was like, dude, I still use that duffel bag to this day.
Hell yeah.
Throughout this whole move, I was living off of that thing. So no, yeah, he's a great guy.
That's badass. It's one of the UFC branded ones.
Yep.
Shit, I'd use that too,
Oh,
man.
hell
That's awesome.
Yeah,
he's been nothing but generous. I mean, he's really the reason we have an audience here.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Awesome.
Like he was our 4th episode. And
Yeah.
just from me meeting him in the archery shop and him just being a genuine dude and like, I'll come in. And I was so bad at this, dude. So bad at this 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. It's crazy. Well, shit, Ed, we're coming up on time, dude. This has been super awesome.
Yeah, man.
We've been at it for almost 2 hours.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah, it was crazy. I didn't have that time today, but I'm glad that we made it. I'm really glad I got to spend it with you. This is just the beginning, man. And if people want to follow you, is your Instagram still private or are you?
It's private. But I would say
you don't have to give it out if you don't want, or if like anybody wants bow work done, are you still
a little
dabbling in that?
Yeah, so I am available a little bit. Mostly it's just kind of word of mouth,
Okay.
Like if you refer me or if you refer somebody to me or something like that, I don't mind at all.
Okay, well then let's not give out any of your personal information, but yeah, dude, I'm happy to have you in the corner. You're welcome back here anytime. But let's get out and let's go do some shit, dude.
Yeah.
Let's go shoot. Let's go do something. And I definitely need to bring my bow down to you this year for the yearly check. So we'll get that in. So. But yeah, thank you so much. If there's any place you want, anything you want to give a shout out to, or any people, or your Instagram or anything,
I would say just I would say Bear Creek Archery.
Yeah,
those guys have taught me everything I know. I credit them for everything. They've helped me out, not only just in, my professional life, my personal life too. So I give them a ton of credit. The buddies, the customers that I've, met there, people like you that just, became friends and stuff. And, that's awesome. My family, I love them all. So.
Hell yeah. That's good. I love you, brother. Cheers, man.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for the cigar. That was good. It was a good way to bring in a podcast and
not terribly strong.
Change my voice a little bit, but but yeah, thank you again, man. And thanks everybody for listening. Thanks for listening to the Mountainside Podcast. If you haven't had a chance to do this already, please take a moment, follow, like, subscribe, or rate on whatever platform you catch the Mountainside Podcast at. If you'd like some more information on upcoming episodes, safety tips, access to all of our affiliates, and all the badass discounts that we get here at the Mountainside Podcast, check out themountainsidepodcast.com.